America needs veterans more than ever. As a veteran business owner, you are equipped with a focus, professionalism, and dedication that is rare in the marketplace. We are looking for former military, make it happen business leaders like you to join forces with a marketplace mission called Veterans Business Force, a division of Network in Action Business Force based in Houston, Texas. We are rallying patriots to work together to grow opportunities for yourself, each other, and our community. We meet once a month at upscale venues to share our vision and align with fellow warriors. Together we are stronger. Google Veteran Business Force to find us before we find you. We are Veterans Business Force, on mission and locking arms.
All right, welcome aboard Health and Wealth Power Hour. It is great to be with you today. Thanks for taking time out of your Thursday to join with us. Boy, we got an exciting show today. We get to focus on veterans, and there is not much more near and dear to my heart than those that have given service to our country. There's so many folks still doing that. It's an interesting thing. We talk about the way things used to be. I've got a number of family members that served, and the majority of those were drafted, so they kind of didn't have a choice back in the day. But I remember even as a young man, we still had to register for the draft back then, and I still to this day have my little card. It looks pretty poor right now, but I do have my card that shows that I am registered for the draft. So I don't think they want me anymore at this point. A little bit broke down here, but anyway, I certainly do believe that we have the greatest force in the world because the folks that are out there have truly volunteered, and they have made the commitment to protect us from the evil in this world. And it's a shame that we see a lot of things happening to them, and especially when they try to come back into the real world, which in many cases is much more terrifying than the place that they were at, because military trains you how to react to things in a hostile environment, but they don't train you how to turn that off when you come back into the real world again. And so we see so many people have a difficult time in that adjustment. And the folks that we have with us today are not just helping that in that adjustment, but they are helping them become successful business people. Through various different things, and I'm going to let them tell you about that so I don't mess anything up. But I do want to welcome Kathy Bowersock.
Hi, great to be here.
And then also Andy Valadez.
Same. Thank you so much for having us.
You're very welcome. So you guys have a number of different organizations, really. As Andy said earlier, you got a lot of hats that you're helping veterans with. So let's get started. Tell me about those.
Well, Andy and I have known each other for a number of years, and I own business networking groups through Network in Action, and we help business owners grow through coaching, training, marketing, masterminding, and of course, networking. And when I was building one of my groups, I spoke to a custom home builder who was veteran, and he said, my business partner and I always wanted to have a group that was veteran business owners to network together and grow their businesses, but I don't have time to build it. And I didn't know what my next group was going to be, and so I just felt that in my heart when he said that. I went, I'll build it for you. That's going to be my next group. And that was the genesis of the Veterans Business Force Houston group here. And we launched in January of 21 and have been meeting ever since, and it is all successful veteran business owners that are working together to get to that next level, which is also what Andy does with his marketing strategy programs. He works to help businesses get to that next level, and so it's a good organization for us to be involved in together.
Right, and Andy, you are a veteran yourself.
Right.
And very involved in a lot of different things on that side. VFW is one of the big things that you're involved with. And I have seen you online enough to know that is something near and dear to your heart. So Marketing Dynamics is your marketing company, is that correct?
Right. So I don't work with the VFW, but the American Legion and the Marine Corps League. Now we support all of the different nonprofit veterans groups. So yes, my company's Marketing Dynamics. I am a Marine vet, served from '88 to '92. So back then I was probably about 22 years old when I heard the call to join. And what inspired me to join, and I don't get to talk a lot about it, but one of my good friends, Lance Corporal Timothy McMahon, was a year older than I was, and he had gone to boot camp, and unfortunately he was killed in the Beirut bombing in 1983, which was a wake up call for my generation. So anyway, served, and thankfully I had an XO that encouraged me to volunteer in the community, and have continued to do that. So that's what I do with the American Legion and the Marine Corps League as a PR officer.
All right, and so what gave you, you said that you had an XO that really encouraged you, but what really pushed you towards the marketing side? Because that's not what you went to school for, right? Or is it?
Well, so you and I were talking about radio. I've always been a fan of radio as a kid. Would listen to the Dr. Demento show and Casey Kasem. And back in the late 60s, I remember listening about the Vietnam War. And I guess even as a young kid, I was interested in marketing because my sister, my dad built her a playhouse one day, and we were latchkey kids, and he also gave me a set of tools. And so I talked to my sister about one day. I said, let's just cut a hole in the side of this little building that Dad made, and we'll play Whataburger. You know, we had a great time. I had the most fun, but when Dad got home, he wasn't too happy with it. So, but I remember listening to the radio about the Vietnam War, and I told my parents, I'd never go and serve and go into combat, because it was scary, and of course I have a high respect for those Vietnam vets that served, because they a lot left there,
right.
And they the ones that stood behind did their duty, and they're probably they're better for it. A lot of times they're broken, but they're still committed, and they would probably serve even today.
You're right, and I think a lot of them would still serve even today, even though they got such an unwelcome reception back home. And that's one of the things, of course, that's talked about. And even when veterans were coming home from Afghanistan, coming home from the Gulf, it was a lot of folks, such as really all of us here, that knew the challenges they were going to have. We did not want a repeat of that. And so they were welcome home. I'm not saying with a red carpet, because we know they still had a lot of challenges, especially looking for work. I mean, there's been plenty of movies about that, the challenges they had readjusting, especially after the terrible things that they saw. But they weren't pariahs. They weren't, oh my gosh, whether someone, even just serving, they were called baby killers. Even just serving. There was nothing that they personally did to do that except serve their country, and that's a shame. But I'm glad that that the folks coming back from those engagements didn't have that, but they've had other issues that they've had to deal with. So
one of the issues that they have in transitioning is when you're in the military, your life is structured. You are told what to do from the minute you wake up to the minute you get in your bed. And from the veterans that I've talked to, part of the challenge in the transition is figuring out what's next and what they're going to do. Are they going to start a business? Are they going to get a job? Or are they going to go work for the government, like you mentioned? But the other challenge that I've heard them talk about is the lack of structure.
Yeah.
And they don't have anybody telling them what to do anymore, and they feel a little bit lost and not sure what to do. And I actually know somebody here on the north side of town that does transition coaching to help veterans as they're transitioning out to deal with that transition. And I think part of with what you have been talking about just now, I think some veterans feel like there's a bit of a stigma to being a veteran, and that just breaks my heart, because I think we should honor them all, because they are the ones that have given us the freedoms that we have in this country today. And so one of the things that we have found as I've been going forward trying to build this Veterans Business Force group, and out of my group also came the Veterans Chamber, that launched a few months after my group did from one of my founding members in my group.
Okay.
We've done some partnering with the city and the Small Business Association and SCORE and the Texas Veterans Commission and those sorts of things, and we're all working together to grow the veteran business economy here in the Houston area. But we've learned some very interesting statistics, and one of those is that there are over 65,000 veteran businesses in the Houston metro area.
Wow.
But they don't self-identify.
Right.
And so that, I think, is a huge shame, because people want to patronize
They do.
veteran businesses, whether they're other veterans or whether they're passionate patriots like me, who we want to support the veteran businesses and honor them for what they did for us and help them grow. And so that's a big challenge, and that's one thing that both with Veterans Business Force and the Houston Veterans Chamber we're trying to do, is find the veterans that own businesses here in Houston so we can support them and that we can help them.
Right. Well, it's time for our first break. And one of the things that we mentioned here is 1 million veteran millionaires. I want to know more about that. And I think there's a bunch of veterans out there that want to know about that too. Health and Wealth Power Hour. Be right back. And we're back. Harlon, Pickett, Health and Wealth Power Hour. Thanks for joining us today on Thursday, and a special thanks to all you veterans out there that are joining us for the first time. I hope we interest you enough to come back and listen to us on a regular basis. And most of all, I want to thank Kathy Bowersox and Andy Valadez for joining us today to share your vision, to share your mission on helping veterans. Whether that is go to work with one of the many companies that you have talked about are looking for veterans and hiring, or get on that road to entrepreneurship, which of course I'm a big fan of myself, being one. There's nothing quite like being an entrepreneur. The goods,
right about that.
The goods and the bads. Okay, there's nothing quite like being an entrepreneur. It's so different. Having worked in corporate America for 19 years, there is nothing that is the same of working in corporate America as there is being an entrepreneur and owning your own business, and thus dealing with everything that comes with that.
You're absolutely right, Harlan. I've done both. I was corporate first, business owner, and then corporate again, and back to business owner, and definitely like working for myself better. But, there's pros and cons both ways. And, some people like to have the security of working for a corporation,
right,
getting that paycheck and that sort of thing. And one of the things that I think is important to get out there is that a lot of organizations, corporations, don't realize that they can use and include hiring veterans as part of their diversity programs.
Okay.
They think of women and minorities, but they don't think of veterans. Veterans are considered a minority in this country when it comes to diversity programs and hiring. And so one of the things that we want to do is get that word out, that if you're hiring employees, it's great for your diversity programs to hire veterans. But also, if you are hiring businesses to work with you, the vendors that work with you,
right,
a lot of organizations have to hire so many diversity contractors to work with them. And again, that's a place where they don't think about hiring veteran-owned businesses as part of that diversity program. And so that's one of the messages that we want to help get out there too, to help our veteran business owners be successful. And on another note on that, the Veterans Chamber, where I serve on the leadership team, is hosting the first ever Veterans Business Expo on September 30th in conjunction with the city of Houston. And it is going to be a number of veteran-owned businesses, and we are actually inviting diversity procurement officers from all of the major corporations around here. We invite you to come out and meet our amazing veteran business owners there so that you have access to them to hire them in your diversity programs.
Well, and as soon as you started talking about that, especially when you started talking about corporate, I went right back to what you said earlier about one of the things that veterans have difficulty with in the transition is structure. Well, corporate America loves structure, don't they? You know, while entrepreneur, in my opinion, I love being an entrepreneur, there's not a lot of structure. And being in corporate America, there was a lots of structure. And so that is a great fit for some people. That's what they need, that's what they want. You know, I've seen even folks that we've attempted to work with in my business that are just not a good fit for working at home, because they don't have that structure. They simply cannot function. You know, they'll sit in front of their computer doing some work for 30 minutes, and then all of a sudden they're locked onto Facebook or something for the next hour and a half because they just drifted off into something else. They cannot, without hitting the clock and being locked in, they can't function the same way that they can. So I can see a lot of veterans that may need time to transition into potential entrepreneurship and working with an organization. You know, there's a couple of different things that I did while I was learning to be an entrepreneur to find out if I wanted to work in certain industries. And so I went to work for, after my corporate America journey, I went to work for a couple of different organizations just to find out, is this something that I myself want to start a business on? And that's not a bad way to go about it, right? That's how you find out, do I like this or not?
It's a try it before you buy it model, right?
That's exactly right. I found out real quick I did not like being in attics in Houston or in San Antonio, either one, during the summertime. So air
is that
conditioning,
AC or plumbing?
air conditioning was not going to be in my future. Okay, I did give it a shot for about 18 months, but I realized that's not what I wanted to do. And I wasn't even installing. I was in sales and stuff as that, but I still had to do that. I had to see, is this something I wanted to be involved in? And the answer was 100% no.
I hear you there, for sure.
And yeah, so I pulled up the information on that Houston Veterans Business Expo. And if you want to go check that out, that is also the website, www.houstonveteransbusinessexpo.com. That is going to be on the 30th of September at the Houston Community College West Loop campus at 5601 West Loop South, right there in Houston. And I've noticed that you've got all kind of categories. When you go out there and look at this, there's just tons of different opportunities for sponsorships and different ways that you can get your business out there, especially if you're looking for veterans. This would be, I cannot imagine a better place to go and look at that. So obviously veterans are invited.
Veterans are invited. In fact, you don't have to be a member of the chamber as a veteran to be an exhibitor there. So we'd love for you to join the chamber. I'd also love for you to come and join my NIA Veterans Business Force so that we can help you in more specific ways to grow your business. But either way, you're welcome to come and exhibit at the expo, and anybody is invited to come and attend the expo.
Okay. All right. So if someone is just more interested, because you're going to have veteran-owned businesses there also, right? So you haven't set up. So if someone is interested, like you said, adding veteran-owned businesses as vendors, they would be a great person to attend also.
Yes, in fact, if they're interested in attending, they can reach out to me. I'd be happy to have a conversation with them and get them connected with the person on the expo planning team that is working with the diversity procurement officers and get them all set up. We're going to have some special packages for them, so they'll have a takeaway so that they'll have the list of all the veteran business owners that they could work with going forward. So they're welcome to reach out to me.
So you talked about 65,000 businesses around here, and of course I think that's always, not everyone pushes out that they are, so there can be, and I personally believe there's probably a whole lot more than that here. But talk a little bit about the diversity in those businesses. So I know even like in the chamber, you've got to have a wide variety of things that business owners are doing. So talk a little bit about that.
You know, it's really all over the board, from business owners like Andy doing marketing strategies to we've got health insurance agents and Medicare agents, AC companies, realtors, mortgage. It's really all over the board. We even, in the chamber, we have some startups, people that are doing apparel, and you know, some of them are doing businesses that it's a mission. One in particular I can think of in the chamber that he does this to raise money to give back. And I know a lot of the veteran business owners do things to give back to the veteran community. We also have nonprofits. We have a lot of veteran support organizations in this city that do things to support the veteran community. And so a lot of those are members of the chamber. I've got one that's a member of my group as well. And I always give a free nonprofit seat in my group because I want to give back to the community and help them be successful from having them be in my group. And the particular one that I have serves other nonprofits. It's called Mad for Vets. And they raise money and then they vet other nonprofits to make sure they're actually doing their mission, and then they help fund them if they are. So they make sure that whatever money they raise, it is going to achieve the mission to support veterans.
It's doing what they say they're doing,
yes.
Not just saying they're doing it, but not doing it.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's very important because I believe all of us worry about that, right? We try to decide, hey, I've got this that I want to donate, but I want to make sure it gets in the hands of the people that can truly use it. Can I trust this organization?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know we do a lot of stuff with Salvation Army, ourselves, my own family, because I want to support veterans that are in need there, and they've been around a long time. And does everything that I do, or does it end up in the store being sold to someone else? It doesn't matter as long as the profit then goes to help those veterans, right?
Right.
And that's what the end of the day is. There's a number of things here. Recently we talked about, well, we could probably sell that on the Facebook thing, but you know what? Let's not do that. Let's go ahead and just donate that. My brother-in-law is a veteran, and they had a bed that they wanted to get rid of. Same kind of situation. He's like, yeah, I could probably go through the whole thing and sell this for decent, but I'd rather give it to Salvation Army so that my brothers and sisters that are, not as fortunate as me have an opportunity to benefit from that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
That's interesting. One of the things when I was looking at franchises to purchase was that NIA requires us as franchise owners to do a project every year where we give back to the community. And so I like that the organization has that same value system that I have. And so what I've done is each year one of my groups is going to choose the community project that we do. And so last year my first group, my West Chase group, chose US Vets Houston.
Okay.
And we supported their Guitars and Cars event that was out at the Wings Over Houston Air Show, and I believe they're going to be out there again, and that's their big fundraiser. And so we helped get sponsors, get silent auction items, get cars, and then we were out there and raising money as well for them. And so and then we decided, I had a member in that group who owns a commercial construction company, but he's also charted in the top 10 on the Texas Country Music Charts.
Okay.
So he's really a very good performer.
Yeah.
And so I roped him into doing a benefit concert for us as well. And so we had him and a woman who had been on American Idol and who's doing very well come out and do a benefit concert. So we raised even more money for them. And so we were able to raise around $6,000 to support US Vets Houston. So that's exciting.
That's a beautiful thing. All right, it is time for another break. When we come back, this thing has gone national. We're going to hear about the process you've gone through to not just bring Houston involved, but also to push this out nationally. Harlon Pickett, Health and Well Power. We're right back. And we are back. Harlon Pickett, Health and Well Power. Thanks for being with us today. Special thanks to all those veterans out there. This show is for you. We have a great group of folks in here today, Kathy Bowersox and Andy Valadez, who are working diligently to promote veteran businesses and bring more veterans into the fold of success. We were just talking during the break that one of the interesting things that a lot of people think of whenever you think of veterans is the difficulty they have in the transition. And while moving from one to another can be difficult, the number of individuals that have been successful is astronomical. Because we talked about those 65,000 veteran-owned businesses. Those are successful businesses, and we know there's even more. But part of your brainchild, Andy, is this Million Veteran Millionaires.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. So I did corporate America as well, and again, going back to my XO encouraging me to do volunteer work. When I went in, I had a vision to fly Cobras, but ultimately I was going to have to leave. And so one of the things that the Marine Corps was going to provide is for me to finish up at Texas A&M University, which I wound up doing. And while I was stationed in New Orleans, I went to Tulane University at night.
Okay.
And so that's like an Ivy League college. I didn't realize it at the time, but I had to get special permission to go. But I've always been a reader and always wanted to have my own business, that kind of thing. Did corporate America right out of A&M. I went to work for Dillard Department Stores in their executive development program to become a buyer, and then ultimately transitioned over to Toshiba International here in Houston and was a buyer, and also worked for the national sales manager when ultimately in 1999 it got downsized. And it was actually a blessing because then I could start my company, Marketing Dynamics, and ultimately been in practice since then. And when I consult with clients, they don't want to be stuck where they're at. And so when a Million Veteran Millionaires came, I was talking to one of our network partners, and she goes, "Andy, what about a million veteran, millionaires?" I said, "That is really catchy, And ultimately, I've found that there is a mentor that I want to approach. That he's built several million millionaires. In fact, he puts a number of a million, and also a mass of billionaires. And he's a veteran himself. So when you go to the table with the idea of possibilities, what you find is people start to come to the table with resources. And again, like you said, there are some very successful veteran businesses out there. We're trying to connect the dot, like come be a part of this community and help, grow other successful, not just veterans, but other businesses as well. Because there's other patriot companies that, want to be a part of this movement, if you will. And you talk about, structure. I just read a book by Peter Drucker called Managing Oneself. And that really is a challenge, not just for a veteran, but for anybody.
For anybody, especially if you're an entrepreneur.
That's right, yeah.
So the dilution of what he wrote about is, number one, know your strengths. If you know you're good at something, then you don't need to be doing stuff you're not good at. There's always people that can come fill that role. Number two is, what are you going to contribute to this thing, and what's going to be your legacy? And so he gave an example of an executive that worked at a hospital, and the guy says, well, here's my strength: organization, leadership, and practicality. Number two, he was going to focus on the emergency room, and then ultimately he said, the standard is going to be, we're going to touch that patient within 60 seconds. But that transformed the hospital system. But it not only transformed the hospital system, it actually transformed it around the nation, because now you had a metric, a high leverage point. So that's kind of what I think we're collaborating on, is how do we zero in on that message. And again, this radio station is part of helping us get that message out, and we're going to leverage that to the brain trust, the people out there that are bright minds. You've heard the old saying that bright minds are think alike. It's not true. They think differently, but together they're brilliant. And it's one team, one mission. That's really kind of what we've been championing.
No, and it's interesting what he just said, too, because you don't think alike. And in fact, many times you complement each other, and that's what makes it a good, functioning, successful thing, is because you find.
Well, a lawyer thinks like a lawyer, an engineer thinks like an engineer. And
you're right. But what's really interesting is that I am taking Veterans Business Force National.
Yes.
And that is how a Million Veteran Millionaires came about.
Yes.
So here are people on opposite sides of the country. I've got a veteran in Connecticut and Andy here, and as they're meeting and working together in that group, as that group is still just forming, I don't have it ready to go yet, but even before the group has formed, they're partnering together.
Right.
And they come up with this opportunity, and it allows her to put out her business, and it allows him to put his business out there, and I'll be coming in and getting involved with it as well, and putting some coaching out there and those kinds of things to help the veterans become millionaires. And he's got marketing plans to help them get there too. And so, I think it was Napoleon Hill that talked about anytime there are more, two people together, you create a third mind, and that becomes the mastermind. And that's where the whole concept of masterminding came from. And so, you're right, Andy. Everybody thinks differently, but you put those minds together, and the next thing you know, you're coming up with these brilliant ideas and creative ideas and solving problems that help everybody be more successful. And that's actually one of the reasons we do some masterminding in our group meetings.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's invaluable. one of the things that on our side in my world of promoting free market medical and transparency, the other folks, whether it's doctors or whether it's folks that that do my social media and a lot of DPC offices, Shanks marketing, they focus on that medical side. So they know what DPC, they know, and they promote free market. So working with someone who understands who you are, so veterans working with your company, you understand.
Well, let's get back to fitness, even like what you're talking about with health. If you're a business owner, you're only as good as your health, and so that is another component. And a lot of times with the veteran community, we're championing the fitness side. Right. Because in boot camp, you're the fittest you ever were. And you're a lean, mean fighting machine, right? Then while you're in, if you want to stay in, you've got parameters you've got to meet. Otherwise, they say you never see an obese Marine. There's a reason for that, right? Because I have a saying that the Marine drill instructors try to kill me in boot camp, but I refuse to die. But life happens when you get out, right? And so we really, there's a group called F3 Nation that I've been championing within the American Legion, the Marine Corps League as well. It was started by vets in 2011. It's a boot camp style training. It's free. It's always outdoors. And they've got one for women called Females in Action, FIANation.com. But it's no cakewalk. I mean, they are up at 0 dark 30, and they're all over the world basically, but they're here in Katy. But fitness is a strong component. If you're fit, you're going to be able to have energy. You're going to be able to inspire leadership with your staff and your team, and you're going to bring other like-minded folks to the table that are going to help you to advance your mission.
Yeah, one of the things that you brought up a moment ago too, Kathy, and this is all part of this million veteran millionaires, is it's amazing how many businesses can do business across the country. Okay, yours is a prime example.
Yes, absolutely.
But if COVID has taught us anything, is a way to do that, a more accepted way. You could always do it, it just wasn't quite as accepted. If you wanted to do business in Connecticut, you needed to get on a plane, right? Yes. I mean, that's really kind of the way it was. Now, it's okay to have a Zoom meeting. It's okay to have a conversation. We have with my business, we have a conversation with a lady in Pennsylvania later today. And she's interested in talking about what we do. Before, she probably would have never found us. Okay.
You're right about that.
And it's just an interesting concept. It's an interesting dynamic of things that have changed. And if there's any positive that came out of COVID, and I do believe that there's a few of them, this is one. It's encouraged business to do people in other places without having to actually meet face to face.
You're absolutely right. And it's very interesting that the way that this came about is a result of COVID and the fact that when everything was locked down, we could not meet in person. And so all of our NIA groups met via Zoom. And of course, my groups hated that, and they were asking me, Kathy, when can we meet in person again? And then
we have a meeting tonight.
Yes, we have a meeting today. And then we went to hybrid meetings, which was really kind of a nightmare. Trying to bring the people on Zoom into the room with the people in the room.
Oh my gosh.
So we're not doing that anymore, thank goodness. But we do meet in person now. But our founder of Network in Action realized that online networking is part of the future of business growth and business networking, and that it can be effective if it's done right and done well. And with tools like Zoom and breakout rooms, you can do that well. And one of the things that makes NIA different from every organization out there is that we do something different in every single meeting. We don't get up and do elevator speeches because that's for visitors. Our members already know who everybody is and what they do, so we don't spend time on that. We spend our time in our meetings doing activities that either help us grow our businesses or help us understand better how we can refer business to each other, or doing activities where we're actually there networking one-on-one and trying to make connections for each other, or referring prospects to each other. And we focus too on getting a couple of degrees out, because that's where the business is. That's where people find their next job, from a friend of a friend of a friend, and that's where you're going to find your business. And so helping them make those connections that will get them out to where the prospects are. And so we do something different, and we can do that with the breakout rooms, right? We work in small groups in our meetings, and it's called Network in Action because we make them move around. And so you work in a small group with this table, and then you move over here with some different people and do it either a different activity or do it again. And so you're interacting with everybody in the group over time, and so everybody gets to help everybody. And so it's a very different model. And then of course we guarantee a return on their investment, and we're the only ones out there doing that. But being able to do business on Zoom that way allows me to achieve a bigger mission with helping the veterans be successful and take that nationwide. So I was really glad for the opportunity to be able to do that. So if y'all know anybody around the country that can do business nationally or globally, send them my way, NIABusinessForce.com, and I'd love to talk to them for the national group and anybody here in Houston too.
Awesome. Yeah, we talked a little bit before the show about someone that I'm going to refer over to you, and I think that's going to be a good connection. All right, time for another break. When we come back, we're going to put a bow on this thing. Harlon Pickett, Health and Well Power Hour. Be right back.
And we're back. Harlon Pickett, Health and Well Power Hour. Man, it has been such an interesting show. It's great to have individuals such as Kathy and Andy that are dedicating so much of their life to help veterans. It's truly a blessing to have you guys on here. I love the mission that y'all have, and I want to tell Gary Elliott, who is listening in today and is one of the producers here at KSEV. Thank you very much for introducing.
He's a Marine vet as well. Hoorah.
He is a Marine vet as well, which he never lets us forget because he's always got his hat on or his Marine shirt on. As he was talking about earlier, it's not always the shirt's in the best shape, but he certainly is promoting that. And of course, producer Gary, who was an Army Ranger and served in Vietnam. So we appreciate you too, Gary, very much. You guys, your service to our country will never be
The
forgotten.
2 Garys.
Yeah, the 2 Garys, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by Garys, but it makes it easy for me to remember a name, right? I can just say Gary, and both of them can say, huh, now which one? Well, I just point. You this one, not that other one, okay? A couple of things you guys got going on today that I want to point out. You have an event, a networking event, from 3 to 5 today at Saltgrass Steakhouse at 8943 Katy Freeway, so right down the road from where we're at right here. And then after that, at the Casa de Monte Cristo, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, Casa de Monte Cristo is a cigar smoker, and you're doing that from 5 to 8 tonight. I believe Gary Elliott said he was going to join y'all at those events. So
We'd love for you to join us too.
if I can get by there, I certainly will. I do have to get back to San Antonio today. Got full slate tomorrow, but I will try to get by there after my meeting that I have as soon as this comes by. I'd love to meet some of the folks that are coming out to the event too. Once again, I'll be right here on the freeway, so I think I should be able to get by there if I don't get tied up for too long.
We'd love for you to join us at both.
Absolutely. And one other thing, of course, we do want to point out that Houston Veteran Business Expo is coming up on the 30th. Go check that out, folks. All the information that you need about that is right there online. If you have questions, there are links where you can contact y'all and get more information. Contact that committee in particular to find out the other information you need too. It's www.houstonveteransbusinessexpo.com, and that will be on the 30th of September. But go out there and get your information now so that you can decide which way you want to participate in that, whether that is coming to visit or possibly even being a sponsor of that outstanding event that's going to be coming up then. All right, so one of the things that you asked for, and I think this is vitally important, is you asked for referrals. You asked for referrals to go to the chamber. You asked for referrals that want to work with businesses. Referrals are what makes the world go round.
Yes, sir.
I'm a big believer in network marketing. Obviously, so are you, Kathy. So are you, Andy. But the referrals, you don't realize a lot of times, if you're not in our world, as it were, what a disservice you're doing to friends and family if you don't refer them to somebody that has their best interest in mind.
You're absolutely right.
And sitting here with you guys, there is no doubt in my mind that you have a veteran's best interest in mind. And whether it is becoming an entrepreneur, I noticed you guys do stuff like you would help people figure out how to stand up in front of people and talk, public speaking.
Yes.
That I don't think that's a problem for the three of us, but there's a lot of people that cannot do that.
I'll tell people I'm shy, so.
Yeah, I tell them that too. That's exactly right. Yeah. So it's funny because when Gary was turning it on, he said some people get nervous, so I'll wait till the last minute and just surprise everybody. Don't tell you there's not a countdown. Just you're live. Oh, what?
Doesn't bother me
No,
at all. In fact, I get paid to speak. So.
So getting nervous doing it would not be very conducive to you, right?
No, I never get stage fright. I just don't.
Yeah.
Which is kind of surprising because public speaking is the #1 fear
It is.
of human beings above dying. So, but yeah, it really is important when people are networking to figure out who good referral partners are for them and then to build really deep and lasting relationships with those referral partners. And that is part of what we try to do at Network in Action, is build lifelong relationships. And I also have a coaching program that I teach people a universal strategy on how to network effectively in ways that will guarantee a return on their investment in that program to grow their businesses and be more successful in anything that they're doing. And so some of those things are activities that we do in our meetings at NIA, and that way we can help people be better at networking because it's an art and a science. And if nobody's taught you how, sometimes you do the wrong things and you shoot yourself in the foot.
Right, absolutely. Andy, we talked a little bit earlier about the perception sometimes is there's a lot of veteran-owned businesses out there that don't promote that they're veteran-owned. Right? Because they may have some fear of a stigma involved with that. How do you help them overcome that and really leverage the fact that they're veteran-owned business? I mean, you're the marketing guy. You're out there telling them, hey man, you're actually making a mistake here. You need to be promoting this because you're losing a bunch of clientele that would come to you. In my opinion, this is what's happening. That it would come to you because you are.
How do you get them to get over themselves?
So you have some good examples, like Chick-fil-A was founded by S. Truett Cathy. I had an opportunity to get him on a radio show a while back, and he was an octogenarian entrepreneur. But what an awesome story! Even FedEx, Fred Smith was a Marine vet. So there's a lot of successful veteran-owned businesses out there, but they haven't really taken the time to put it on their website, to put it on their business cards. That's one of the exercises that Kathy had us go through. Is like, put that on your website, and I hadn't done that until recently. If you go to my website now, it's on there, U.S. Marine veteran-owned. I consider myself a frontline marketer. That has appeal because my clients not only hire me for my marketing expertise, but also security. you got built-in security, and I learned that from the founder of The Apprentice, the Mark Burnett.
Okay.
He was from the UK, but he got the job of becoming a nanny to a very successful person in Hollywood, and that's how he was able to sell it. It's like, look, I can iron the clothes, and I can be your security. So vets come with a lot of practicality, if you will.
But when you see them, I guess, doubting themselves, okay, that's something you've got to overcome, right? I mean, you've got to get past it and show them here's the benefits to it too. Is there a process you go through there, or do you just remind them how important?
We'll remind them. So you have some special forces folks that are in business. I know that one guy's he's a sniper instructor trainer, and ultimately, they're the best of the best of the best.
Right.
But they have to translate that to their business, bring that personality, bring that focus, that expertise to it, and see themselves succeeding. And that's where the mindset component comes, is see yourself, running a successful business, being a community leader, supporter. Plus, we have husband and wife teams that are both vets. So now we're starting to reach out to that dynamic where you've already served our country together, maybe in different parts of the world sometimes, but you're still together. You're on the same mission to support our country that we serve, but in a different capacity.
And let me tell you, working with my wife, I can't even imagine that, because it's difficult enough to work with your spouse, much less if you both served and now you're working together in a whole. That's just a whole different dynamic. So having people that have successfully done that is a huge part that you can refer them to other couples that may be struggling with that, so that they can see, well, here's how we dealt with it, and here's how we went with it.
It used to be Little House on the Prairie, but now it's Little Family on the Freeway.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it has really been great having you on. Kathy, any closing comments you got for us?
Well, I would simply like to, first of all, thank all the veterans for their service
absolutely.
and for fighting for the freedoms that we have today. I, for one, am grateful, and actually my mission in doing this is that it is my small way of doing something to actually thank them for their service, to help them be successful once they're out of the service. And so I feel like I want to serve them now. So the only other things that I have to say is come join us. Let us help you grow your business, whether you're here in the Houston metro area or whether you are around the country. If you would like to get involved, apply to join at niabusinessforce.com. And that will have links to our NIA site where you can actually send in the application. And then the other thing is come join us today at our meeting and at our happy hour.
All right. And that's it.
Sawgrass Steakhouse, 8943 Katy Freeway today, and then also at Casa de Monte Cristo from 5 to 8. Thanks for joining us. Y'all have a blessed evening. See you tomorrow. Harlon, Pickett, Health and Well Power Hour. We are out.
We love our veterans. If you're a veteran and own a business, you don't want to miss what's coming up. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Veterans, our whole country owes you a huge thank you for all you have done for us. We have a very special guest today, Kathy Bowersox, and she is here to tell us all about the Veterans Business Force. Kathy, welcome to What's Next Houston. Tell us about Veterans Business Force.
I'm glad to, Jimmy Sue. Thank you so much for asking. So that is an organization that I have built. It's part of Network in Action, which is a very different business networking organization from anything else out there. And it is a group that I formed strictly for military veterans. I feel like it's a small way that I can thank them for their service and give back to them now that they're civilians.
Can you tell us about your organization, Network in Action?
It's a very different networking organization from anything that most people have seen before. We do things very differently. We don't get up and do elevator speeches. Instead, we do activities in our meetings that help our members get to know each other better, that help our members understand who good clients are for each other, that help our members understand how to refer business to each other and help them build their relationships. And so we do something different in every single meeting. We also like to add value for them. So we do things like help them identify their ideal clients, help them with their marketing, help them run their business. My background is that I'm a strategic business advisor, and so I often use that experience as well to help my members in all my Network in Action groups be successful. The other thing is we are the only networking organization out there that gives a guaranteed return on our members' investment.
Kathy, tell us how a veteran can contact you and learn more about how to join your fantastic organization.
They can reach out to me at Kathy, that's Kathy, at networkinaction.com, or they can go to networkinaction.com and search for the Veterans Business Force under Visit a Group. If they're interested in my other groups as well, they can look for West Chase Business Force or Sugar Land Business Force. And lastly, they can call me at 713-899-8615.
Thanks again for joining us today, Kathy.
I was really glad to be here, and Jimmy Sue, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to spread the words about what we're doing to help veterans be successful in their businesses.